Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're going to be diving into the world of Bitcoin, talk specifically about what has been going on most recently with BTC. Now I'm going to try to keep this one nice and brief. I'm still a little bit under the weather, so I'm going to try to get through this video as quickly as I can whilst still conveying all of the important pieces of information over to you. If you do find this useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, let's dive down into this Bitcoin chart. We're going to just take a look briefly at our weekly. Okay, and this weekly chart basically starts way back here, back in December of 2018, okay? And this is kind of where the bull run should have started in theory for Bitcoin. We can see that we had a good run to the upside where we peaked out with wave one just up here at about June 2019, right? We then had a correction, and then this correction was overextended to the downside during the pandemic, right? Back in March 2020. This is the point where many of those altcoins actually started their bull runs, okay? Until that point, not a lot was going on, but for Bitcoin, it was way back here, okay? And then obviously a little bit more deeper correction than was actually expected at this point. It should have actually started to move back to the upside at that point there. Okay, so pandemic aside, we did slip back down, and then we had a good surge to the upside within our third wave, right? And the third wave up here peaked up in April of 2021, right? So from March to April, we've seen 1,600% in gains. So pretty good, but again, really small in comparison to some other altcoins that, again, if you're able to identify the, I guess the, how do I put it, the possibilities, the potential in some of these cryptocurrencies much earlier, such as VeChain, Harmony One, and Matic, you know, just to name a few, Cardano, right? And when they were all the way down here, they've seen, you know, well up of, I think like Matic's been 50,000%, right? So huge surges to the upside in comparison to what Bitcoin has done. So although Bitcoin is considered a safer bet, we do have to consider that actually you're getting lower returns from Bitcoin than you are from an altcoin, right? Specifically in these bull cycles. So what we saw once we kind of peaked up here with wave 3 was a pullback into wave 4, and again this took us down pretty low. This is where people were calling out 20k Bitcoin, so I marked that on here with a yellow line because, you know, I'm useful like that. So again, if we were to actually slip down to our 20k level, this would be a previous high area over here of 2017, December 2017, okay? So we know that if we were to pull back down, it would be a significant pullback as well. This is also a previous area of resistance just here. Okay, so here we obviously started to see a good surge to the upside, and this is where the critical stuff comes in, because this is where we are right now and the key things that we're fighting against, right? Before we kind of get past this yellow box area, and basically once we are past here, then we are talking about all-time highs, and we are talking about pushing up into this fifth wave in a really strong way. If we thought that wave 3 was good, wave 5 is going to blow your socks off, okay? So everything's looking pretty good from this perspective. We can take a look at that stochastic. It was definitely overextended into the oversold area for a very long time. We have briefly went back up into the overbought area, and we started to fall back down on this this weekly chart. Okay, so again, not too uncommon. We can take a look at this third wave here, for example. We were oversold, we pushed up, we pulled back, we pushed up, we pulled all the way back down, and then we surged right back to the upside again to become overbought for quite some time. So right, not unusual to see that kind of volatility in with BTC here. So when we jump down into our daily, this is where we start to see a little bit more of that clarity on what's been going on, right? So I have drawn on a couple of trend lines. Let me just expand these up and make sure I get those on the right levels for you. Okay, cool. So here we can see there's a downward trend, and this is where we're fighting up against right now. There's also an upward trend line. I'm just going to make sure this is actually on point. Let me just pull that back in there. There we go. Okay, so we have a downward trend and an upward trend, right? And again, this kind of forms a triangular wedge by the end of October, beginning of November. I do anticipate how we'll actually push way up here beforehand, okay? So month of October is going to be quite key. But what I do anticipate seeing is a rejection from this current level, okay? So we are overbought on our daily stochastic RSI. So I do think that a pullback is very natural and something that we should be looking to see here as we find this resistance level, okay? So we are up against that 50k level. You can see this right now. At the point of recording the video, Bitcoin is at 50k, and so again, this is an area of resistance that we are fighting up against. Now it can of course blast straight through here. That's what we want to see happen, and basically to break this downward trend from the peak of 3 and where we rallied to early September, right? And we want to we do want to push past this level, but I don't think we're really going to see that just yet. I think we're likely to see a pullback, maybe down to the 46k support line, and then from here break through, take out that 786, and then that's a real big bull signal that will take us up to our 67k target. Now the 67k target for the month of October, if I actually just bring this down for you, comes in at a cup and handle. Okay, so basically what we have is we have a cup here, and then we have a handle forming, and the handle then takes us up to 67k. Okay, so the cup and handle, as long as we do actually kind of finish this pattern off, does predict that will be about 67k Bitcoin for the month of October approximately. Timing is usually the hardest thing to get. With that being said, this is very much in line with Plan B's 63k for October, and again everything is kind of playing out quite nicely to that effect. Now with cup and handles, they're about 60 to 70% accurate, so again they're not always going to actually play out, but it's good to see that the pattern is there, and if it does actually come in, then we should be looking for a pretty good kind of price bump and a new all-time high for the month of October. Okay, but I would be expecting volatility, and again we could blast all the way through there to get to that first 1.618 area, depending on what is going on. I do anticipate this Q4 being an absolutely massive for Bitcoin, right? So right now do expect volatility. If I jump down into our hourly, here you can see that we're up against that resistance right now. We are lowering our stochastic RSI. So again, we could trade sideways here and then blast through, get into the 618, which is this yellow box area. And then from there, we should be able to be working our way up past the 786, and then off we go towards that 67k target. Now, it's also worth acknowledging what the AAVE Dashboard is also indicating to us. Okay, so we have a B1 rating overall. It hasn't changed in the last 24 hours. The fear and greed index is a C2, which means there's a reasonable amount of fear for Bitcoin still. Specifically, as you find these resistance points, that's going to be a pain point for many people who hold in Bitcoin, and basically the bears will potentially want to take this down a little bit. So we have to be mindful over that. There is still unreasonable amount of fear in the space for Bitcoin. We have the Sharpe ratio in A2. So the Sharpe ratio is your risk reward ratio, and again it's in our favor. It's saying that actually holding Bitcoin is potentially better than not holding Bitcoin, right? The risk reward ratio is working for us, well above the 50-day average. When we come down to moving averages, looking pretty good at an A2 rating. The peak end value demand, B2 rating. Now, there is some liquidity-based problems. The AAVE ratio at a C2 is indicating some problems with liquidity, so buying and selling could become problematic. So again, we just have to be mindful over that. And again, we have got the profitability being an A1, which is pretty good, right? So overall, and the Bitcoin stats are pretty well balanced. I guess I would be concerned over the liquidity and the fear in the space. Those two things coupled together could be a bit disastrous for Bitcoin, specifically as we are coming up against this resistance right here. So in an ideal world, what we'd like to see is actually just a small pullback, nothing too crazy. I mean, there's one here, a good support level could be found at 48k, right? So we could just kind of work our way down and then blast on up. Okay, so everything at this critical moment is really playing out for Bitcoin, really trying to figure out whether or not we're going to push past 50k, push into that 618 area. Okay, so getting above a 51.1k, otherwise pulling back down to 48k to 46k, something in that range. It could allow us then to grow over time and a back push or push back to the upside overall. So guys, I just want to kind of touch base with you guys on everything that's been going on with Bitcoin, and we are up against some major resistance right now. The AAVE Dashboard is indicating potential problems with Bitcoin from a liquidity and a fear perspective, so we should be mindful over what is likely to come next. With all that being said though, those are short-term predictions and short-term thought patterns, whereas ultimately October does look like we are heading towards 67k based on the cup and handle pattern, and from there, you know, we should be looking at pretty good price discovery for the rest of Q4 really, and we kind of heat the market back up again. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you guys have found this video useful and informative. If you have, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.